Right, we're just doing a bit of a spot on the Leeds Lancashire Canal. That's Minty, but she don't like a picture being taken, so I'm going to go round. Hey, there you go, I told you. Right, we're with Eileen, and she's going to tell you, she's written a letter to Greg Clark, and she's going to tell you about it.
Well, I got involved with this just over a year ago, and I retired after being a midwife for 36 years, and I just couldn't believe what was happening. All the talk about health and safety gone mad, and the government actually want to poison and pollute the country. I've just been going through a kind of a grief thing that I couldn't believe that this could happen in our beautiful country. So this is an 8-page letter with lots of pictures, and I've also been worried about the bombing of Syria and things like that. The whole world, it's like once weapons were manufactured to fight wars, and now wars are manufactured to sell weapons. And we have Michael Fallon, who's the defence minister, or perhaps he should be called the defence industry minister. In 2014 he stood up in Parliament and said that there have been no examples from the United States of hydraulic fracturing contaminating groundwater anywhere, and that is absolutely false. And it was then that there'd been hundreds of instances of contamination, and there's been thousands of instances. So that a man who is now our defence minister can lie in the Houses of Parliament with impunity. I just can't understand why this man is still in office. So I wrote quite a long letter to Greg Clark, and I'm just disgusted that the way this government's gone around in the last 5 years, just changing the laws with the Infrastructure Act, revoking the Magna Carta, so that they can, leave anything behind in the ground, including nuclear waste, with complete impunity. This is the hydrofracking companies explained. Basically, they inject chemicals into the ground, corrupting the water supply while extracting natural gas. Hydrofracking politics explained. Basically, we inject money into politicians' pockets, corrupting the democratic process while extracting corporate profits. Paul Mobbs has done a lot of work. He's an activist, and he's done the wonderful Frackogram. You can see it online, and it shows all the connections between ministers and the oil and gas companies, and also connections with certain universities who are funded to specifically provide research supporting the industry, when really to a primary school child it's completely insupportable. It's so bad in so many ways that it fills 2 pages just talking about the things that it's bad for. Sometimes we'll say it's just sand and water, but silica at pressure causes cancer and lung disease. So just saying it's sand and water and a few chemicals, are cancer causing. And then the big thing is radium. What's safe in the earth when it comes out and onto the surface is radioactive and fatal and polluting. There are organisations that are trying to bring ministers to account, and that state that the Infrastructure Act was illegal and that they derelicted their legal duties when they did this, because it's certainly not for the good of the people, it's for the good of the industry, and the industry seem to be actually running the government. Quadrilla itself, who are aiming to frack in Lancashire, they've got an appalling record. Of the 4 wells they've sunk, 2 of them have been compromised, so they've got a 50% failure rate. So they have not reported breaches when things have happened. They've not reported what's gone wrong. They've been forced into it when it's been found out.
What's this line you put here as well? Non-violent domestic terrorists.
I'm also found that at 60 years old, a retired midwife, I'm also classed as a non-violent domestic terrorist by this government. And
is that a terrorist there?
That's polar bear. Well, the policemen seem to be smiling at the polar bear, and that's Minty, of course.
She's barking at the camera.
So I think a lot of people like Tina Louise Rothery and Bob Dennett have done a lot to educate the police at LCC in June, and I think a lot of police in Manchester in October and in Preston in June have learned a lot more about